Miss Transformers 96 here with another movie review, and this time it is of the Transformers Age of Extinction. So this is just my thoughts on the movie. I'm not the best movie reviewer, but this is really just for people who watch my toy reviews, and if they want to know my opinion on the movie, I just kind of do these movie reviews for that type of audience. So yeah, I have been lacking on my movie reviews, and I apologize. Spider-Man and X-Men I said I was going to do reviews for, and I ended up not doing them, and just time got away from me, and I'm very sorry about that. But with this one, I definitely did want to do a movie review because yeah, I mean, Transformers is really the thing that's got me started on YouTube here, and it's the reason that my name is Mr. Transformers, and so I have a lot of passion for the Transformer movies. I enjoy them a whole lot, so yeah, so definitely wanted to do this review, so there you go. As you can see, I have a slew of characters here, all of which make at least some type of appearance in the movie, and that's why I have them all here. So first of all, let me just start on characters before we get into the robot characters. Oh, and by the way, this is going to be spoiler heavy. I'm not going to hold back on anything, and yeah, and this might also be a very long review because there's just a ton of to talk about. As far as human characters, we have Cade, played by Mark Wahlberg, of course. Really happy that Mark Wahlberg was in this movie, and I think it's good to kind of change up the cast, so it's not the same old, same old. Anyway, I liked his performance. I mean, you know, I like Mark Wahlberg as an actor. I always enjoy him in movies. I thought the thing that I didn't like about his character was the whole, inventor thing. I don't know, it was just really goofy, and there really didn't seem to be a point of him being inventor. I mean, it wasn't like his inventing skills helped him, you know, defeat like Lockdown or something at the end, and that's typically why they would have somebody have a profession like that in a movie. It seemed like the only reason that he was an inventor was to get some jokes and, you know, some humor with it, as well as for him to have a reason to buy the truck. But I mean, they could have had him be a mechanic, and there would have still been a reason to buy the truck and whatnot. I just didn't like the whole inventor thing. I thought that the jokes that they went with it weren't very funny, and just the whole idea of there's just a bunch of like robots everywhere and stuff. I don't know, it didn't seem very realistic or relatable, and therefore not very, you know, good. But overall, I still liked his character. I liked his persona, and you know, I liked the actor, of course. So overall, I enjoyed him. Tessa is his daughter. You know, she was exactly what I expected. Nothing much other than something to look at. You know, but her character was fine. It was just nothing great. You got Lucas, which was definitely for comedy relief. I enjoyed his character a bit. I'm glad that he wasn't a character that was brought on to this entire ride. We just got him in the beginning, and then of course he dies, which I think is also really good, because we've I'm trying to think, and I am pretty sure that we never see any human main characters die in these movies. It's just, you know, people that we don't know who die on the streets and stuff. So it was really cool to get a human death of a character that is actually in this movie. So that was pretty great. And you know, his comedy was hit or miss. You know, sometimes it was funny, sometimes it was just goofy. But overall, he was fine, and I kind of enjoyed him in the movie. I will say that I was really confused. I didn't know too much about the human characters going into this movie, and I thought Lucas was the same character as Shane, just from like set pictures. I thought that they were the same character, just like midway through the movie or something, when they're on the run, you know, he cuts his hair to be more in disguise or something. That's what I thought. So it was actually kind of hilarious to realize that it's actually two separate characters, but that's just my ignorance of these human characters going into the movie. But then Shane is a human character I disliked in this movie for the most part. I thought that his dynamic with Cade, the father, was really funny, you know, and that he really stood up to him a lot, and you know, some of the comedy that they used with that was actually pretty funny. But I just didn't like his character. I found it incredibly inconsistent. You know, because sometimes he was, you know, somebody who could stand up to Cade, you know, very strong-mouthed and stuff like that, and then others he was just like afraid and he gives up right away. I did not understand the type of person that he was. I found him incredibly unrelatable because he seemed like he was two different characters into one, I have to say, and really didn't enjoy him because of that, and for the most part wish that he wasn't in the movie, or that at least they made his character a little bit more focused. We've got some of the villains now. We've got James and Harold. James is the kind of like a main, I don't know, assassin guy, I guess you could say. I thought he was okay. There's some stuff that I didn't like with him, like when when he says, you know, my face is the warrant, I thought that that's probably the dumbest line I've ever heard, and it was just, I don't know why it bothered me so much, but it was just so stupid. I just really hated that. And overall, you know, he was just nothing too special, but he was fine, and he was somebody that I guess needed to be in this movie, especially to have, the heroes have someone to fight, or the humans have somebody to fight. As far as Kelsey Grammer's character, I really enjoyed his character. He was in the movie a lot more than I expected, and I was really happy about that. I am a Kelsey Grammer fan, really do like him, and I love the show Frasier. To prove that, I have a TV behind me that I always kind of mute when I do reviews, and Frasier's on as we're speaking, and so I really do like Kelsey Grammer, so I was very happy to hear that he was in this movie, let alone as a villain in the movie, and he was really great. Really enjoyed him, and it was really cool that Optimus Prime ended up killing him in the end and everything. He had a lot of screen time, and the actor is really a good actor, so it was really nice that they gave him plenty of screen time. So overall, very much liked him. Then we go into Stanley Tucci's character. He was definitely like the secondary comic relief type of character. He got a little crazy in the movie, you know. There were some things that they did with him with humor that I found, you know, funny, but for the most part, I found him rather annoying, and, you know, I liked him in the movie. I just wish that they toned down his dialogue sometimes, because, you know, when he's just going nuts, it's not something that's funny. It just was kind of annoying. I was just kind of waiting to get it over with, so I found him okay. You know, I just wish that they toned him down a bit. And then we go to Sue. She was fine in the movie. There just didn't seem to be too much of a point of her being in the movie, but overall she was fine. You know, nothing too much to say about her because she doesn't do that much, but she was fine in the movie. And then we go to Darcy, which I am still clueless as to why she was in this movie. She bought nothing to, you know, expand the plot or to give any sort of meaningful dialogue or to do anything. They could have completely written her out of the script and everything would have went the same. Yeah, Darcy is a character that she was in some scenes that when I saw this movie a second time, I completely forgot that she was in those scenes because she adds nothing to it. So I really have no idea why she wasn't even in this movie, and really, she should have been written out. She wasn't even a character that was there for comedy relief or anything. She just had no point of being in this movie whatsoever, so I really hated her character, I have to say. There's the human characters. Like I said, we're already 7 minutes into this video, so this is probably going to be a lengthy review, but there I am with the human characters. Overall, some good, some bad, some that I could care less about, some that I enjoyed, so yeah. Alright, now let's move into the robot characters. First of all, we have some returning characters. Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, they were good in it. Optimus Prime is a little more ruthless in this movie, you know. He's never been the nicest guy like he should be, I think. A lot of people are kind of upset that he's so okay with killing and everything, when in the old television show and stuff like that, he's more of a kind of take him prisoner and not so much kill him, while in these movies he's very much just slaughter them, and in this movie is no exception. He even said, you know, this one part, he had one line that was like, you know, I vowed never to kill humans, but when I find who did this, they will die. And it's like, oh, okay, then, you know, Optimus Prime is not the nicest guy ever. So yeah, but overall, he was fine in this movie. He looks pretty cool. With all the characters in this movie, I think that they look cool. They just don't look realistic, in my opinion. They have too much clean space. They don't necessarily look like they transform. You know, Hound has a transformer type of look, and you know, Lockdown does as well. But like characters like, you know, Optimus Prime, even Crosshairs and Drift, they have a lot of clean space. They don't really look too much like a transformer, other than like their chest maybe has the car logo on it. But other than that, oh, and Galvatron too, they do not look like they transform, and it's very off-putting. It really makes the movie a little less realistic, and it makes it look more like a television show like Transformers Prime, where there's lots of clean space on the robots where there really shouldn't be, in my opinion. That's my opinion though, but overall they look okay. They look cool. Now, Bumblebee was good. I mean, plays the same type of character, and he still has the voice problems. And you know, he's a funny, nice character, and I do like him in the movies. The other returning Autobots that were just in the movie for very little bit is like Ratchet. Seeing Ratchet in the movie was really cool. Somebody that we did expect to see in this movie, obviously from the trailers, but to see him and to see him die was really great. And not only did he just die by the humans like it looked like in the trailer, but it was actually a Lockdown who ripped out his spark, and that was just really cool. Really did enjoy that, and it was really nice to see him in the movie, as well as it was really nice to see the Autobots kind of get pissed when they see that they've killed Ratchet and stuff. Because Ratchet's such a big character in the original series that it's so nice to see them kind of treat him that way, and not like the other Autobots where they're just gone and nobody talks about them and that's it. So yeah, so it was kind of nice to see what they did with Ratchet. Was really happy that Leadfoot was in the movie. Just some other person from the old series. We get to kind of see them get taken down, even if it was just a very short little bit of a scene. It was still very cool to see, and I was really happy that Leadfoot just made it into this movie. It didn't have to be Leadfoot, but just another returning Autobot made it in, even just for such a small part, so that was cool. Brains is also in this movie. People, I weren't quite sure if Brains was going to be in this movie because the actor who voices him, I believe on Twitter, he said something about that he was returning, but nobody quite knew if he was returning to do Brains' voice or just a different character's voice, but it was turned out to be Brains. Pretty neat to see that he's in this movie, but the reason I think it's neat is because it's just another returning Autobot, so I thought that was pretty cool that he was in this movie because he was a returning Autobot. But what he did in the movie was really just nothing special. He really was just there to give a short scene of dialogue where he can kind of fill in everybody on what's happening type of thing, and then he just leaves. So yeah, but still nice to see that he was in this movie and get some resolve as far as in Dark of the Moon when the ship crashes. They don't say that Wheelie or Brains died, and they don't show it, but then they don't show them at the end, so you never know if they quite died. So it was kind of nice to get a resolution to that question, and Wheelie probably died in there, but Brains didn't die, but he was damaged, so cool to see that. Alright, going on to the new cast of Autobots. They kept it with a smaller team this time. I think was smart. Goes a little back to the first movie where there's just like 5 key Autobots, and they did the same thing here. These Autobots have a lot of personality, and that's Crosshair's Drift and Hound. And their personality it's nice to see robots with personality, but their personalities for the most part were a little overdone. Hound I thought looked really cool. I really love the way that Hound looks, and I was very excited to see him in this movie. And he's voiced by John Goodman, a good actor too, so he seemed to be very promising, and I have to say I didn't like him too much. It's not that I didn't like what he did, I just didn't like how much he talked, and for the most part he just wasn't funny, and yet any time that he is on the screen he is just like trying to be funny. Just everything that he says is meant to be a joke, and it really isn't funny for the most part, and the times that he is a little funny, it's just not even that good. So I really found him to be pretty annoying for the most part, unfortunately, and that was definitely a shame because I really did like the way he looked, and he looked to be quite a promising character. As for Drift was okay. His personality, just hold on one second for me. Sorry about that, I just got a call, so I had to take it. Alright, so back to what I was saying. I was talking about Drift. Overall, I didn't like Drift, but I kind of expected not to like him too much. I mean, he was okay. I was really hoping that he wouldn't talk. I would, because they could have, done like a vow of silence type of thing, because he's like a samurai, and his face had such a strange look. It didn't look like he could talk, like in a realistic way. So I was hoping that he wouldn't like say anything. He'd be like a silent killer type of guy, and he just wasn't. And he talked and everything. It was just a stereotypical samurai type of stuff that he said and whatnot. I didn't really find him too interesting. I think that obviously what he transforms into is just awesome, being the Bugatti, but it also doesn't make any sense that he transforms into a helicopter. They didn't talk about that or try to explain why he transforms into 3 things, which was very annoying, and it was unnecessary too. He didn't have to transform into a helicopter, so I don't know why they wrote it into the script that he did, and it just didn't make any sense why he did. And plus he's got an interesting history. He is a Decepticon turned Autobot. It would have been nice for them to touch on that, or just to give him something you know, some cool aspect to his like story, and they didn't try to do that at all. Unfortunately, they didn't do that with any of the Autobots. They didn't explain any of their past. They just had personality and no past or anything like that, which would have been cool to kind of hear, or at least just to get you like and to relate with the characters a little bit more. But they didn't do that at all. Overall, really didn't like Drift too much, and I really didn't like Hound too much. So that leaves us with Crosshairs. Crosshairs was a character I did not expect to really care for. I thought that he would just be, you know, just an average Autobot, and, you know, wouldn't hate him, wouldn't love him. That's just about it. I ended up actually really enjoying Crosshairs. He was the Autobot that surprised me in a good way, and I was very happy about his personality. I thought he was kind of cool. He kind of, you know, in my opinion, his personality is he really thinks quite highly of himself. He really doesn't care too much about, you know, Optimus Prime or Bumblebee. He's mostly just out for himself, which is kind of neat. Which is why, you know, he kind of wanted to leave you know, the ship as soon as they got on, because, you know, he really didn't care too much about finding them. And I liked his personality type of I liked it. It was kind of cool. It felt like he, you know, wants to be in charge just by himself, and I do like the way that his car kind of transforms into like a cape type of thing. I think it looks cool, and I think that his attitude was really quite neat, and definitely something that I enjoyed to watch. And I loved his gun too. I thought it was really cool. So overall, really did enjoy Crosshairs. Was disappointed in Drift, but I kind of expected not to like Drift too much anyway. Hound, I was expecting to really like, and was disappointed in him as well. But for the most part, the Autobot team was good. You know, some hit or some miss, but overall it's a fine team. When we get into Dinobots, you know, very surprised to only see 4 Dinobots, but very happy about it. I felt like the 7 Dinobots or whatnot of the toys that they're making were unnecessary for this movie, so glad they just went with 4, and I found them to be as pointless as Darcy in this movie. I have no idea why they were in the movie, other than to get some good money shots for the trailer, and to get some hype for the movie, and to just make more toys of. Other than those things, they did not progress. They did not do anything good for the actual story or script. Just, you know, they were just on lockdown ship, and, you know, Optimus Prime just goes and frees them, you know, to free them. I mean, there was just no point of them being really in this movie. They could have completely not been in the movie, and the movie wouldn't be changed in the slightest. As well as they didn't look all that good. In their dinosaur modes, they looked pretty neat. They were barely in their robot modes, and when they were, they really didn't do too much. I'm glad that they didn't talk. I'm kind of happy about that, but other than that, I found them to be rather pointless, and overall just pretty disappointing. Just really nothing special. But I didn't expect to like the Dinobots, because Dinobots, their concept is something that I just don't like. I don't like Transformers that transform into animals, other than the small type of like pet animals, type of like Soundwaves characters. I don't like it when they transform into dinosaurs and stuff. That's just my own thing, but they were, you know, very disappointing and didn't really do much in this movie at all, so they completely should have not been in this movie, in my opinion. Now we go on to the Decepticons. You know, technically, I guess you can say there isn't a single Decepticon in this movie. I mean, there's Galvatron and his type of like army, which are technically not Decepticons, they're human-made characters. And then you've got Lockdown, who's not a Decepticon or Autobot, he's just a third-party, you know, bounty hunter. So it is kind of funny that there's no Decepticons in this movie, technically. But Galvatron, in my opinion, was fine. He really didn't do much at all. I mean, he did fight Prime, but for the most part, we didn't really even get to see him fight. I liked that his chest, like, had the circle that could, like, melt things. I mean, you know, Prime sticks his sword in there and just melts it, and I thought that was kind of neat. I liked that he talked, at least, you know, like in that battle. I thought what he said was kind of cool, and what I liked was that, you know, at first when the humans didn't seem to be alarmed that he just said something, I was really disappointed by that, but I was really happy that in a few more scenes they did end up addressing that Galvatron spoke when he shouldn't have, so I'm glad that they said something about it, because I thought that was kind of a weird thing. But overall, he was cool in the movie. The Viacons, Stinger, and just all the plain old Decepticon no-names were a little more interesting than I expected, and that was with Shockwave. I mean, you can see Shockwave is in this video right now. He's next to Galvatron, and it was really cool to see like a two-headed Shockwave. I guess that, you know, they just found like, you know, debris of Autobots or debris of Decepticons at Chicago, and, you know, Shockwave would be one of those, so it would kind of make sense that they designed one of them based on Shockwave. Of course, they gave him two heads, which is kind of neat, but overall I thought it was pretty cool. Really glad to see a Shockwave-like character in this movie. Even though he doesn't do that much, it was still really neat to see that, and it was something I completely didn't expect. I liked it so much that I'm planning on doing a custom of a two-headed Shockwave, you know, from this movie figure, so yeah. But overall, that was kind of neat. The Viacons don't do much, but they are fine. I liked the way they looked a lot better than the other Viacon-ish type of characters from the other movies. The other movies, the no-name Transformers, they all had no personality to them. They were all just black with some silver parts, and they didn't look like they transformed into anything. They just seemed to be complete Cybertronian soldiers. While in this movie, the Viacons and whatnot, they did transform into cars, and they had some color to them, and they had some car parts on them, and it just made them feel a little bit more respected and not so plain and boring. So really did enjoy them actually in the movie, even though they didn't do too much. Now, on to the last character, we have Lockdown. Loved Lockdown. One of my favorite things in this movie is Lockdown. I think that he was absolutely great. I enjoyed watching him. I liked the way he talked. You know, there was a lot of humor in this movie, but Lockdown is one of the characters that doesn't have really any humor to him. They didn't try to joke around with Lockdown at all. They really kept any scene that he was in to be quite serious, and I really did enjoy him. He was pretty badass, and I love the fact that he had a hook, just like his original Transformers animated debut with his hook, and I'm really glad that they stuck with that and gave a little continuity to the character, and I just liked him a ton, and he was just great. Oh, it's been a long review so far, and I have just finished with the characters because there's a ton of characters in this movie. Going over the actual story, I found the story to be pretty bland, but okay, I guess. You know, the whole idea with the humans finding the car and whatnot is a fine idea, but there didn't seem to be anything new or special, anything quite interesting when it comes to the story. A lot of same old with some new things. Of course, one of those new things being the fact that they have found transformium, or whatever they call it, that is what the Transformers are made of, and it's just it's metal that can be transformed into anything. I thought that concept was just dumb. It's so far out, unrealistic, it's unbelievable, and I really did not like it. It kind of takes away what's special about Transformers. Then no longer do we see them like transform. They're like, you know, they're like matter, and they just kind of form together. It looks stupid. It's so unrealistic, and I really don't like it, and was just overall really disappointing, that whole concept. I hope that if Michael Bay directs a fifth one, or whoever takes over this franchise, kind of slowly moves that type of idea out of the Transformers universe and sticks it more to with you know, realistic type of things, with, you know, transforming actual regular metal type of characters. That would be a lot better, but overall it is quite disappointing, that whole concept. I just find it very stupid and really unrealistic completely, so yeah, that's definitely a shame. When it comes to the animation in this movie, it was hit or miss, and that's for sure. Sometimes I really enjoyed the animation, thought it looked good, thought it looked realistic, and other times I did not. Some examples is when like Prime jumps, and, you know, when Bumblebee throws like the people up in the air and Prime grabs them and is flying through the freeway and smashes through a big truck. The person on the left in that truck looks completely fake, and it just looks ridiculous. When the humans are standing on the wires that are connected to his ship, it doesn't look too real all that too much. It looks okay though, but it has some things that don't look too real with it. When that scientist guy is just kind of playing with the metal, and, you know, he has like a, I don't know what you call it, like a unicorn pillow, whatever that character type of thing is called, but whatnot, and it transforms into a gun. If you look at it, it looks like he is completely holding nothing. It looks so fake. The way that he's holding it, it doesn't look realistic at all. What else? When Bumblebee is holding, I believe it's Tessa, and Tessa is holding Cade, and Cade is reaching out to Stanley Tucci to try to get him on the ship. You can see Bumblebee moves around, but his hand doesn't move in the slightest, and that's because you know, it's Tessa is holding onto a metal pole, and they can't have they didn't film it where she's moving at all, so they couldn't have Bumblebee's hand move at all, but they still have Bumblebee move, so it just looks really bad that his hand is just completely, you know, stuck, not moving in the slightest, but he is moving around. It didn't look good. There's just a lot of those little things that didn't look good, and then just some scenes, the CGI just did not look good. As far as like the Dinobots, when the Dinobots transform, they look terrible. Just like when they're in that kind of forest section and they transform into their dinosaurs, it looks like a terrible transformation. Doesn't look like the standard that Transformers has set. It looks like a computer game, or just it didn't look realistic in the slightest. It didn't even look like a standard that Transformers usually has, and that was very disappointing. And then when it comes to transformations, they didn't show too many. It was very strange. They showed Lockdown and they showed Optimus Prime. They showed those two transformations a couple times, and other than that, either the cars or either the Transformers were already in car mode, or they just you heard the sound off camera and then you looked and then they were in their car mode. They didn't really show them transform, and I don't know what that was for. Maybe it's like difficult to actually design their transformations and therefore they really didn't want to do it. It looked like a cop-out though, and it just really did not look good, and was very disappointing that we didn't get to see transformations like we've seen in all the other movies. They just didn't show them very much, which was disappointing. Same thing with Galvatron. Like, they showed him kind of form. Oh, and that's another thing with the Transformers that don't transform. You know, they just show them kind of fused together. It just looks stupid. It's not cool. You know, like it was in the first movies where they actually physically transformed. As far as the battles go, there were some great ones, and then there were some okay ones. For the most part, a lot of the battles were okay. I didn't like that when some characters were battling, like the evasion mode Optimus Prime and Lockdown, and then Optimus Prime and Galvatron, when they were showing them battle, you really just saw them like in the corner of the screen, and you know, it was actually showing the humans doing something else while they were battling. It didn't look very good, and it was very disappointing. Another thing that I didn't like with the CGI is when Cade's character drives the car, you know, just off the building and onto the ramp. It didn't look too good. They could have really cleaned that up a bit, but they didn't. So yeah, a little disappointing there. The explosions were awesome. I mean, Michael Bay has explosions down. The one where Lockdown throws his grenade and the massive like V-formed explosion. You know, I don't care if it's like not a realistic reaction to a grenade, but it is still super sick, and I just absolutely love the way that it looked. It just looked awesome, and I have to say, super cool, just a great shot. And it was cool that somebody did die in that explosion too, which, like I've said before in this review, that, you know, they really never show before. So yeah. Lockdown's fight at the end of this movie is pretty much the final thing that I want to talk about, and I have to say that it is one, if not the best fight I have ever seen in a Transformer movie. I absolutely loved it. The way that it started was so cool. Definitely the best scene, just like the best shot that I've ever seen in a Transformer movie, and it possibly might just be my favorite shot of any movie, is when Lockdown jumps out of the ship, and as he's landing on the bridge, he blows up the bridge, and then he just rides the bridge down just on top of Prime. That scene that they do in slow motion looks so cool. It is unbelievable. I absolutely love it. And then they start their fight, and their fight is just awesome. They show it. We really get to see it, and it just is sick the way that they fight. And I love that it takes Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, and the humans to take down Lockdown. And I really feel like the humans contributed. In the other movies, when the humans like try to help the robots, it just looks stupid because they can't do anything, so it just is dumb to see them try to help. But with Cade's case, he actually has a gun that he can use that is actually helpful, and therefore it was entertaining, because, you know, you really felt that Cade could help and could do something. You know, what he was doing was more realistic, so I did like that a lot. And I did like the way that they had Cade and Lockdown fight, with Lockdown trying to stab him while Cade shooting at him. It looked really cool and looked really realistic. I love that Bumblebee came into the fight and tried to help and was actually helping in a really cool way. And then, you know, when Bumblebee started, you know, kicking Lockdown's ass, I was really kind of disappointed because I was like, oh, please don't let Lockdown just die here. So I was so happy to see Lockdown just kind of pick up Bumblebee and just throw him down and get back to fighting, you know, Cade and stuff. Super cool. And then, of course, just the awesome death scene. I have to say, Transformers, when there is a cool key Decepticon character, when they kill him really cool. They have always done that in all the past movies, and in this movie was no different, where Optimus Prime stabs Lockdown in the chest, Lockdown goes down, like throws up some green stuff, and then just Optimus Prime just pulls up the sword and just splits his head in half. Super cool. I love the death scenes, and even before going into this movie, I was looking forward to Lockdown's death scene because I knew it would be a cool one, because they always do really cool death scenes. But overall, I love that end fight. I could watch that over and over and over. Super cool. Probably the best fight that I've seen in a Transformer movie, and I really loved it. Overall, as a whole, what did I think about this movie compared to the others? I found it to be overall disappointing, but still fun. I mean, even a disappointing Transformers movie is fun for me. You know, a lot of people just kind of hate on these Transformer movies, you know, like the not too good ones. And I understand if they're not too good, or the scripts are not written really well, or there's not a whole lot of character development, but they're just fun movies to watch. If you go into this movie just expecting to kind of turn your brain off for a second and just sit down and watch some really cool visuals and just be entertained that way, it's really enjoyable for you. And that's what I just do. And, you know, it turns out to be very enjoyable. And this is an incredibly long movie too. It's probably one of the longest movies that I've ever seen. It's almost 3 hours, and it's 3 hours of fun. I have to say, these movies are made to be fun. They're made for all age ranges to go sit down and just watch something fun. So really did like that. As this movie compared to the rest, how does it rank? For me, I believe that the first Transformers movie is probably my favorite, and then very closely next to that it's going to be the third Transformer movie, and then there's a big gap between the first and third movie, and then the second and fourth movie. I found this fourth movie to come in third place to me, and then the second movie to come in last. So I didn't think that this was the worst Transformers. I certainly didn't think it was the best. It was the second to worst, but still enjoyable. I would call this movie disappointing, but still with some really enjoyable parts. And yeah, it's nowhere near the first or third movie for me, but it's still very fun, still very enjoyable. I plan to see it, you know, a few more times at least, and I've enjoyed it. So yeah, so there is my very lengthy review. When I did my review of the Dark of the Moon movie, it was very lengthy as well. I have a lot to talk about when it comes to these Transformer movies, but there's some things that I really do love. There's just something that I like about Transformers. I don't know what it is, but I have so much fun collecting the toys and stuff like that. But yeah, I am doing a couple Transformer customs from this movie, so when those are done, I'll definitely show them, and hopefully you can see that. So there you go. Tell me what you guys thought of this movie, and overall, I really did enjoy it. It's a fun movie to watch. So there you go. So that's my review of Transformers: Age of Extinction. Thanks so much for watching.